Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode 35 of Be With Me. We find the rebellious child Jesus. Just kidding. He's in his father's temple. His parents should have known. Here's the story. This is from Luke chapter 2, verse 41. We just learned yesterday about Jesus growing and becoming strong and being filled with wisdom, and that the favor of God was upon him as a child. And then this is the last childhood story that we know about Jesus. Verse 41, now his parents went to Jerusalem every year at the feast of the Passover. So a good Jew in Deuteronomy 16 talks about the three major feasts of Israel. The Passover is one of them. And a good Jew, no matter where he lived in Israel, was to attend the feasts, and they were really spiritual parties. They had some spiritual obligation, but the character of them was a lot of fun, a lot of food, a lot of eating, and even drinking, being together, just like 3 times a year, a family reunion almost. And so Jesus was no stranger to Passover. And one of the thoughts I had about this was, it's great, and his parents were devout and obedient Jews, and they focused on Jerusalem as all Jews since and did then and did now. But Jesus was familiar with the Passover, so he had been to Passover 30 times, maybe even 30 times in Jerusalem. Just amazing. He might have been very familiar with the city of Jerusalem. He might have been to Jerusalem 100 times by the time he went to Jerusalem during the Great Week and had his passion and crucifixion. So Jesus knew what he was doing when it came time to the crucifixion and the Great Week. All right, let's go on. And when he was 12 years old, they went up according to custom. And when the feast was ended, as they were returning, the boy Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem. His parents did not know it, but supposing him to be in the group, they went a day's journey, but they began to search for him among the relatives and acquaintances. And when they did not find him, they returned to Jerusalem searching for him. So this is the section called parental terror. If you've ever lost your child, it is one of the most unpleasant things that I did. This happened to me once. I lost a child in a mall, and one of the worst moments of my life. So this is either a story of a couple of total knucklehead parents and deficient parents, which I think you really can't accuse Mary and Joseph of this. I think it's actually a story of the great strength of community. So you have an independent 12-year-old. Now, why do you give independence to a 12-year-old? Well, first of all, the child is perfect and hasn't caused you any trouble in the history of his life. And would that be a young person where you would give some responsibility to care for himself and stay with this aunt? And so, yes, so I think it denotes a strength of Jesus and an appropriate response of a parent to start giving a 12-year-old responsibilities, babysitting and whatever. The other thing I think it shows is the strength of community. It said that these were relatives and acquaintance, and it was a group. And so in this week-long festival, plus the days of travel to walk on 80 miles times 2, I mean, this was a big deal, a big caravan. So it's not unreasonable to say that you would not be on top of your child at all times. So unique parenting situation. You got to give Mary and Joseph some slack here. I don't think it's a deficit of their parents. Okay, so they finally realize he's lost. They search. They don't find him. Verse 46. They returned to Jerusalem. Verse 45. When they did not find him, they returned to Jerusalem. So they're a day out. Then they go a day back and search for him. And after 3 days, they found him in the temple, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking questions. So what a great teaching point that is How do you make a spiritual impact? Well, you sit down, you listen, and you ask questions. But then the next verse says that all who heard him were amazed at his understanding and his answers. So how do you get to have a platform to have people be amazed at the truths that you have? Well, you listen, you sit, you ask questions. Great teaching point. So Mary and Joseph were astonished then, verse 48. His parents saw him, they were astonished. And his mother said, Son, why have you treated us so? Of course, she sees this through her own eyes. Behold, your father and I have been searching for you in great distress. No kidding. Losing your child for 3 days. And he said to them, why were you looking for me? Did you not know that I must be in my father's house? And so he rebukes them, and I think there's two parts of this. Number one is this shouldn't have taken 3 days. This should have taken 2 days. 1 day out, 1 day back to Jerusalem, and then 1 second to find him. Why? Because they should have known he would have been in his father's temple. And why is that? It's the centrality of the place of God. It's the centrality of the people of God, and it's the centrality of the business of God. In fact, that's apparently a good translation of his, did you not know that I must be of my father's business and the business of the temple? And that became clear when the people were later on in his life, when they were selling oxes and stuff in the temple, and Jesus got very mad about that. The final thing it says is that he is now marching by the beat of a different drummer, or not, hasn't really changed. It's this groan and this obligation towards God and this intimacy that Jesus had with God and in obedience to them. So what a great story of Jesus's young life and the terror of his parents. I feel sorry for them. When Joseph and Mary, when I see them and buy them lunch in heaven, we'll share stories about losing our children. I appreciate you listening. I'll see you tomorrow.